We wrote an article that went viral and sparked a natural hair revolution. We are Elise
and Aisha, moms to small humans, digital content creators, licensed hairstylists, brand agnostic, curl educators,
and generally your snarky girlfriends with no filter.
We're two women from the south side of Chicago, taking the stupid out of natural hair.
Welcome to episode 2 of Curls Disrupted. We want to know, where are your people?
I mean, what does diversity mean in the curl world? I mean, when I look on my social media feed and I use that as a litmus for diversity, it just means change the colors. Like, we're going to have a light girl, a brown girl, then we're going to have we got to find a really dark girl, and then that's it. Like, the diversity doesn't necessarily mean the diversity in the actual hair, just like diversity in just the medium, the person that they actually put out. That's me.
Tone.
That's me, because I'm a consumer. Yeah, you forget I'm a consumer first.
You are. So when I say diversity, I want to see a diversity of skin tones. I want to see a diversity of curl patterns, of actual textures. I want to see a diversity of lengths, of color,
like
and
of
a hair
color.
color.
Hair color, okay.
And styling.
Ooh, yeah. Well, because right now all I get is a lot of dilapidated twist outs. That's all I'm seeing. And I'm not talking about from the professionals, because y'all out there killing the game. I see y'all. I be liking y'all pictures.
I'm talking about the professionals. And the reason why I say that is I've been, okay, so let's go back to how long I've been in this curl world.
Oh, tell us.
So I started out doing natural hair because I was a natural in Chicago that had a cosmetology license, but I was working as an arts administrator. And I was not too far out of college. I had a little bit of coins, and I wanted to have somebody else do my hair.
I had been rich now.
Just a little bit.
You got money.
I had been natural at that point, off and on, for maybe 6 or 7 years. And I'm like, I can finally afford to pay somebody to do my hair. Could not find anybody to do my loose natural hair. I could find someone to straighten it, to silk press it, because that was when silk presses were just becoming really popular. Or I could find somebody to lock it or coil it.
Oh, don't forget braids.
I wasn't even looking at that because I am too tender-headed.
They were available.
They were available. I'm too tender-headed for that foolishness. And I could not find someone. And this was 2008 during the recession. And my job was going through a major layoff, bad grant cycle, whatever you want to call it in the nonprofit world. And I was like, I have a license. I can't find anybody to do the services I'm looking for. Maybe this is what I do. So I started doing natural hair. I was known in the city of Chicago for twisted updos and beautiful bang and twist outs that lasted. But I'm like, there has to be something simpler. And I would see this wash and go, and I'm like, I don't even know how to do this. It looks really cute, but I don't know how to do it. So I went to a impromptu consumer class held by Lorraine Massey, who is the creator of Diva Curl and the instigator of the actual curly girl method. And she did this amazing cutting demo and styling demo on this kind of medium curl model.
Okay.
And I told her, I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to take your class sometime soon. So 6 months later, I ended up at Diva Curl in New York. This is 2011. This is before social media really popped for business. And I took my first Diva class. So I came back to the south side of Chicago.
South side?
Beverly neighborhood. And I tried to apply what I learned in that session on the black girl sitting in my chair.
Oh, there's a picture actually on social media that we have posted. If you want to go back over to the Cut It Kinky page. It's over there, right?
I think it's on Cut It Kinky.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's on the Cut It Kinky page of this very first Diva inspired. Loosely inspired. Because, I mean, let's be real, though. Like, how often do you go to a class and you literally take every single thing back from that class and then institute it or put it into, in process in your actual, like, how often do you take every single thing and make it, like, work for you?
I'm that person, though.
Are you the type A person that you don't like?
Yep, I am. So I took, because actually I was the only black person in my class.
Okay.
Even though we were actually taught by a Black instructor. Vita was one of the teachers for the class. Vita still works there. She's awesome. And she decided to style my hair because I just didn't believe her that this would work. And my hair was gorgeous. I hated the way it felt because of how much conditioner was left in. But it was cute. And I'm like, how do I replicate this on my clients? Because if y'all know Chicago, Chicago is a super crazy, ridiculously segregated city.
Let me say something about that though, because it's self-segregating. I studied this in college. It's a self-segregating city. There's a difference. I just wanted to put that in there.
It's self-segregating, but that self-segregating actually goes back to redlining. And it goes back to how the Dan Ryan Expressway, which is 1994, how it was built. It was actually built, ran right through a Black neighborhood, and Black ended up on one side and Caucasian ended up on another side. So we could go on a history lesson all day long, but y'all look
up we do that.
The history of Chicago. So Chicago is a very segregated place still today.
Yeah.
And so I was on the South Side, even in a neighborhood that was fairly integrated. You still have Black salons and you still have Caucasian salons, and never the twain shall meet.
Never.
Unless you go downtown and there's like one Black hairstylist in the Caucasian salon. So I'm in there trying to use these techniques on my clients, and I'm like,
what happened?
What happened? What happened is for real.
Okay, so a quick question about that though, seriously. Like, have you seen that client like ever again?
I have not.
I'm just wondering.
The cut client, I have not. I did one style and one cut. The style came out absolutely terrible. I did see her again.
Okay.
But I'm like, I can't incorporate this into my business and ruin my already good name. Because I already had a name established out here. I could not be putting out booty work.
You was like, no, this is not happening to me. And you have to know that she is like, operates on a Black excellence level. So this is probably killing her spirit. She probably thought about quitting. Did you think about quitting?
I did, actually. I was like, no, let me see if I can go back to arts administration. But what I did was I took the time to start researching products and researching ingredients and researching hair. I cracked open my Aveda cosmetology textbook. I cracked open my Milady's textbook and started from the beginning and reading and understanding the fundamentals of hair and realizing that I already knew this, but really gaining the knowledge that hair is hair, but how we have to go about styling and seeing tightly curled hair is very, very different than how we go about working with looser, smoother, silkier curls. And this is not even an ethnicity thing, but this is a real life hands-on cosmetologist thing.
No, I honestly think, and I've only been doing this, and most people are like, she's new, how can you? But I am very green to this. But when I came into it like open, ready to receive all the information that those who came before me, those who actually knew this stuff, to understand what it is that people are missing from like actually understanding this medium, because this is a different medium of hair. And so you
very different medium.
It's almost like raising children. Or
usually the analogy I use is working with tight curls is the difference between working with sculpture and painting. So if y'all don't know, I actually have a bachelor's degree in art. So I look at looser curls, silkier hair more as a two-dimensional canvas. Okay. You can create dimension, you can create texture on that flat surface, but at the end of the day, it is going straight up and down, it's not living in space. This is for y'all watching the video. This is literally the only day, my day one, that my hair does not live in space. And Aisha's hair, this is day one, it automatically lives in space.
Because on purpose.
Well, your hair doesn't even lay flat. It
really doesn't. I don't even know what flat is. What is flat, right? What is that? But what's interesting about what you're saying, right, is that you were not able to take this education that a lot of us in the curl community use as leverage for marketing purposes and institute that in your very Black salon.
Yes, in my actual work life. And honestly, had I been a different person or didn't have the time freedom I had at that time to really go deep into self-educating, I would have just said, oh, that was a great training and kept on doing what I was doing before. But when I got that training, so many women were like, oh my God, you're Black and you can do a Diva cut? They're like, I'll work through whatever with you. So I actually, at the beginning, got this small group of women who were like, no, we're gonna work on this together. We're gonna develop how this works on tighter textures, coarser hair, higher density, 3-dimensional hair that lives in space. And that is where my practice as a hairstylist was grounded, is those initial women who took the chance on me because they saw someone who looked like them, who was trained in the trainings that they wanted to have and was doing the things they wanted to achieve with their hair because they were tired of twisting. They were tired of coiling. They were tired of having to have their hands in their hair every day or every other day or multiple times a week. They wanted hair that was like, okay, I cleansed, I conditioned, I styled, and I'm out this piece for the next 7 to 10 days. So that bevy of knowledge is how I grew my curly cutting and curly styling career, and what essentially spawned Cut It Kinky, our professional training program.
So I have to say this because people don't know this, right? When we started the 30-day hair detox, okay, we literally, like, when something goes viral, I'm just gonna give y'all a little nugget real quick. If you happen to be like in the midst of a viral situation, you have really, they say you have 7 days, I'm gonna really tell you have 36 hours to act on whatever just occurred so that you can get all the momentum off that, because it takes an entire week for people to get through it. But if you're then coming behind what's going on, then there's more traffic and you're creating a jam, and there's just more information getting put out there, and they're seeking you now because they want to know more of whatever it is that you're saying. I just wanted to drop that nugget on y'all real quick.
Yeah.
But Elise had already written this information before we even got together. Can you tell these people that you already had this stuff like...
Okay, so...
Real talk, she wrote it, what, 2-3 years before?
It was 2-3 years before that. So,
like,
oh my goodness.
Y'all don't
you
understand.
Really gonna have me tell the story? So this is when we say, where are your people?
She's been trying to get to the professional for 6 years.
Since 2013. So
yeah.
That was 2011 when it was like, okay, I'm a curl artist. I don't necessarily feel confident in calling myself a curl artist, but we are figuring this thing out because there's a demand for it. So by about April 2013, I'd figured it out pretty much. Had a great clientele that wanted a mix of services. I was doing curly cuts and curly styling. I was doing twists. I was doing a little silk pressing still. And I took the month of April 2013 off to write it all down and codify it and figure out how to offer it to both consumers and professionals. Because there was no reason that I was one of the only people who probably knew this information. And at that point, that's when influencers were becoming a thing. And no hairstylist was taking the time to learn the system, learn the ins and outs, and be an influencer. So yeah, I took the whole month off, wrote this whole curriculum, developed this whole plan, and was gonna put it into action. And then my marriage fell apart.
Wow.
My marriage fell apart. I got separated in the course of like 2 days and got left with 2 salons, and I had to close one, kept up one. It's a long story, but
we'll save it for another
save it for another day, probably a book. And so that had to be shelved because what immediately had to happen was I had to figure out how to grow my business. So I had to find I had to find my people and figure out what services I could offer and specialize in that did not take my whole spirit that needed healing. And I decided what's being asked for most now is curly cutting, curly styling from Black women with tighter textures and tighter curls who had probably never seen their curls before in life. So I was like, okay, I'm doing these cuts, I'm doing this styling, everything else gets off my menu. And instead of, which is the thing that all hairstylists seem to be super scared of, is losing my business and lowering my income, I quadrupled my income within a year.
Wow.
A whole year later, so this is August 2013 when everything like went to complete shit. And August 2014, I decided to move to Atlanta.
I remember this because we were Facebook friends. And even though, you know, I told you this story before. I tried to book an appointment with Elise before, and I was like, I gotta wait a month? Like Soulja Boy, like a month?
A month? No, but the business grew because there was a demand from the people.
She did, and I was like, I cannot wait a month, but I did buy products from you.
She did.
I did buy products. I was like, I cannot do. I'm gonna keep twisting my hair.
But she bought products for me to twist her hair with. So I decided to move to Atlanta because again, I had quadrupled. So I quadrupled. That's not even a word. Quadrupled my income. I was able to. Out of necessity, I had to buy a car because y'all know Atlanta is not a public transportation centric city. Rent a house with a friend, and restarted my entire life. But that was because I found a niche in the curl market that was not being served. And so that had become my mission to serve them. Moved to Atlanta, folks were like, oh, you live in Atlanta now? You doing hair here? You doing hair here? And I'm like,
she was.
No.
It was interesting. It was fascinating from my end because I wasn't a client, but I knew her. To see her, like, she'd drop in and do hair and then leave.
In Chicago.
For like, she'd be here like 5 days and she would talk about her travels, packing her stuff in her little suitcase on Frontier. Like, I'm watching this. I remember all this stuff.
Oh, really?
Because I thought this was fascinating. I was fascinated. Like, wow, she just gets to live the life that she want to live, huh? She's just out here living, just doing her thing. But what I will say is that what was really interesting, that even though we talked in passing, as soon as I said I'm going to beauty school, she was on my page.
It was like, so we need more of you
in my business.
more of the bloggers, more of the influencers.
She knew where her people were. Like, she knew where her people were, and she came and got me to be her people. I am probably the last person that Elise has trained just all willy-nilly. Like, I am the last.
You're the last person.
The
because
last.
She's not the only, but she's the last.
Yes, on this level, because I'm the beta.
Aisha's the beta for everything. Yes. So we say all of that to say is there is a market of tight curls. There's a market in the diversity. And when we say diversity, we want diversity to reflect us. We are, as we said in our intro, 2 women from the south side of Chicago.
That represents a lot.
That if you know anything about Chicago and the south side, and we're actually not that far
We grew
away
up
from
literally
each other.
within probably 5 miles, not even 2 to 3 miles.
2 to 3 miles.
Yeah, we grew up within 2 to 3 miles of each other. We are 5 years apart
5
in
years
age.
difference.
I'm older. I'm the
I
oldest.
act older.
I'm the oldest. But no, we essentially grew up in the same neighborhoods, understand a lot of the same stuff that we saw growing up, experienced some of the same things because we both had a lot of hair, relaxed hair. And I mean, that was not, I mean, it didn't stink, but it was just like, that's a cute weave. And it's like
It's not weave. And
but that
also,
grew up my scalp.
But seeing where it's like the people, understanding the culture of where the people come from.
Yes.
And when we, like you said, when we say
The
we're from
culture.
the south side, we both had hair when we were younger.
Both.
We both grew up putting volleys and getting our hair braided.
Same
and
5 ponytails every
at 10 years old.
Same 5 ponytails all the way from when my mama did the ponytails all the way up until 13 when she
I was
relaxer.
lucky.
No, ma'am.
I was
that's
lucky.
the
I was only in
same
5th grade.
5 ponytails. You had to wear those plaits. You get your hair shampooed on Friday. You wear the plaits to Sunday. You get your hair pressed in the kitchen. Your ear burned on Sunday. Like these are things.
My mother didn't press my hair before putting it into the volley. So
this is when she moved on. She was like stepping up her game.
I had the shrunk up, like I had the super shrinkage.
Yes.
So these are some of, when we say diversity, we say diversity of experiences, diversity of culture. There is a Black hair culture that is distinctly American.
Very.
That a lot of us go through as children, as teenagers, as young adults, that we're coming up through a system.
I'm so thinking about when I was working with white people, like white folks, and I'll be like, oh, I've got to go right now. I got to get to the salon.
So that I gotta
don't
get
leave.
put in the rotation.
I gotta leave because if I don't, and then they didn't understand like the whole idea of me spending my whole entire Saturday as a teenager in the salon, never being able to beat Miss Brandon. Y'all don't know Miss Brandon, but just know Miss Brandon was going to beat you, and she was gonna be first
because she was gonna get out of there first.
She was gonna I'm very angry with Miss Brandon because Miss Brandon had to get a weave too, but I never could beat her. Like not understanding, but I wouldn't trade any of that time spent in the salon as a teenager for the world. I learned so much about women. I learned
about being a black woman, about what about what black women's lives
were like.
contain.
Yeah.
And
I wouldn't trade that. I wouldn't
life
trade.
lessons.
I would not trade that experience of the world. And I always say this, but hairstylists have always been the influencers of the community. They always had the dopest fashions. They had the best vehicles.
Yes.
They went on the best vacations.
Like, girl, I don't want to work that day, so I'm just gonna stay home and chill.
Like, who are you? They work 2 and 3 days a week. Like my hairstylist that I got as a teenager, which my dad used to date. But that's another story for another podcast, another episode. But my that hairstylist, my last hairstylist that I spent the most time with, she taught me so much about being a young woman, carrying a purse, wearing lip gloss. Like these are things like, and you know what's funny? Because I feel that spirit of Karen with me all the time about when I'm here in the salon. I'm like, okay, girl, but you need some lipstick and wear your earrings. Like I need you to go. If you need to go do that before we take this picture, please make that happen. And guess what? If you don't have it on, I'm gonna put a little makeup on your face before I post those pictures.
Just a slight
just
bit.
a little beat.
So it's so important. It is so important to understand as curl artists that there is an entire lived experience and cultural experience behind being a black girl with curls. That is the reason why we named our umbrella company Black Girl Curls, because there was no other phrase
Nothing
that encompassed what it meant to do the work that we do. And so it's not just hair. It is not just about hair. And to be honest, I am the first person to be like, girl, chill out, it's just hair. Because I have had the ability through my life to grow unlimited hair. I've never had a relaxer burn. I've never had a relaxer take my hair out. I've never had a terrible hairstylist that just jacked me all the way up. Now, I will say, I am afraid of Marcel irons because I had like one person when I was 7 burn my ear. I'm that person. So I am privileged in being a black woman that I have not had this experience, but I understand that women who look like me, who live like me, have had certain experiences and things happen to them in the salon from stylists who were black, from stylists who were not black, from their mothers, from their female family members, and all those things come with them to the salon. And it's my job as the salon professional to treat the whole woman. What I do is a practice. And I say woman because my practice is 100% female. If you don't work with women, then you have to bring in the culture of black male hair because that's something very different as well. So understanding that that's a whole person. You're not just giving them a cut. You're not just giving them a color. You are taking everything that they've experienced, everything that they are thinking about their hair and themselves, and you are creating and crafting, co-creating and crafting something with them because that's the first thing people's going to see is their hair.
Yes,
hair
Lord.
is the accessory we don't take off.
No, ma'am.
And in African American culture, hair has always been a very, very important aspect of personhood.
It definitely is. And that's when we say, like, we do this for the culture, we do it for the curls, like, that's exactly what it means. It's all parts of that. It's having to understand those different experiences that those women have had over the course of their life. Hearing the stories, like in nail salons, hair salons, at the Target.
At the Target, and on the aisle, Lord.
On the bus stop. Like hearing all these experiences. I mean, I've heard stories and I'm like, man, I didn't experience that, but I know exactly what you're talking about. To be the person in your family with all the hair, nobody knows how to comb hair. Like
empathy.
You don't know what that is like. To have a mama. I mean, I can identify a lot with the white kid, the babies with the white mamas. Because white mamas and my mama got a lot in common. They don't know how to comb hair.
Mine too. And for the fact is my mom's hair and my hair are the exact same hair. I don't understand it. Love you, mommy. But that was our experience. And we're not saying, let's make this caveat. We are not saying that you have to have those experiences in order to work with tight curls. What we are saying is that there has to be an understanding in place of what that hair means to the person sitting in your chair, and not just in an individual perspective, but an overall cultural perspective.
Absolutely. I went to a predominantly white high school. And before I even went to that high school, we all were reading magazines, but 17 magazine, because it was like you were 17, you were a teenager.
You read 17.
You read 17. But 17 magazine wasn't really for me though. Like it really
Not at all.
It wasn't. If let's be honest, 17 magazine was not for black girls. But I could go to my predominantly white high school and already know about the white girls at my school and know what's going on. They didn't have to explain anything to me.
What bands they like, what their makeup fashions were happening, what hairstyles were popping, what clothing styles were popping.
It was in 17. So I am a big proponent. Like if you
go get an Essence.
Listen, Ebony Jet.
Well, Ebony Jet went out of business.
Oh, but go get the old ones at the library. Go read about the beauty of the week. That was a thing. It's like, how can I be? I mean, we grew up wanting to be beauty of the week. Like, and she was like 24.
She was super cute.
And she was a waitress. I don't know what they did, but those publications, being able to read those publications put me in a place and an advantage. And so when we would have conversations about hair, I am become the person who now answers the question for all the black people about black hair. Like, why do y'all only shampoo once a week? Why y'all don't do this? Where everybody wear? So I mean, and I didn't mind because they didn't know.
They didn't know, and but it's exhausting.
It is.
Let's talk emotional labor and exhaustion. It is exhausting. Always having to explain the foundation of something. Yes. And we oftentimes as tight curl consumers, we want to sit down with someone who at least has a fundamental understanding of the culture we're coming out of, so that my experience could be put in perspective of that culture, and we can actually get further rather than me giving you Black Girl 101.
Yeah.
So that I can then give you 102, and then maybe 103 is some of my personal story.
Or we have instances where people are forcing their experience or what they believe your experience should be, how you should live your lived experience. And that actually ends up not working out. And so we want to be able to give clients, we don't wear any weaves or wigs, but I still want to be able to tell my clients, listen, here's how this is going to work if you decide to do this. I'm not going to say not to do that. I'm going to say, here's how you do it.
Because I get it, girl. Because some days my hair just looks a hot mess because I don't want to do it. But I don't have to go to a corporate job.
I understand.
I don't have a boss.
Listen.
I don't have someone in my office who is gunning for me because I am a Black woman with an outspoken voice.
We had a model in one of our classes. It was actually heartbreaking to hear that.
It was.
That she had to wear her hair a very specific way.
Pulled back in a bun, no texture.
Just to be heard. So in retrospect, Where Are Your People is just like, are you even listening? Do you hear them? Because one of the things, this goes back to the entire natural hair community, nobody's been listening to them. They have, the marketers have. And giving them stuff they don't need. But have people really have a stylist? We didn't listen to them. We just thought that, they gonna come back. We gonna put this relaxer back, smack it back on. Y'all all gonna be feathered out.
Or they're just gonna be okay with whatever I give them because there's nobody else trying to serve them. And the time for that is up. The time for that is up for terrible styling. Yeah. The time is up for mullet cuts because you're trying to take the same cut from two-dimensional hair and put it on this three-dimensional hair.
Listen, if I cut another mullet.
Oh, Jesus.
And do y'all know the emotional labor that goes into cutting the mullet, though? Like, I have to then explain why this hair is not going to be long back here and why we have to reconnect the crown and why this is like this. Like, explain. Like, it's a lot of explanation that goes along with having to do that. Please, for the love of Jesus, just sign up. Come to a class. We'll show you why the mullet look is not working.
The mullet is not in. But we're no longer standing for just being the tokens. We're no longer standing for getting subpar service because curls are curls. We're no longer going to stand for, do you want representation from somebody who is acting as a gatekeeper, who is not a part of the community, not part of the community.
I call that Columbus.
So again, we're here. You know what? We're here to disrupt that. We're here to change the status quo as it relates to natural hair consumers and professionals who say they do natural hair. So
curls ain't curls, y'all. Curls ain't. Curls are not curls.
Curls are not curls, and listen to your people.
Nah, you need to listen.